Well, greetings and salutations, test takers. This is Dean Tenney, aka Series 7 Guru, from my fabulous studio here in Las Vegas, or Studio in Fabulous Las Vegas, with our always very special guest, Brian Lee, managing member, Test Geek Exam Prep LLC. I refer to him as the Test Geek himself. We're here to help you with any content questions, as well as have some fun and fellowship. So tell us what series exam you're taking, where you're joining us from. We're here every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific time. If you miss it, it's available as a replay, our live stream Q&A, as well as a podcast on Spotify. If you do have a question, it's helpful to Brian and I to know what question you have, what exam you're taking, followed by your question, right? Are you taking the SIE Series 7? It helps us know, because, some things have overlap and they're tested on different levels, and it's just helpful. Best free supplement to your paid study materials is my YouTube channel. It's a buffet. Take what you like, leave what you don't. It's organized around your series playlist. So you find your series, SIE, for example. There's 3 playlists. The playlists, the videos are in suggested watch order. So it's a buffet. Take what you like, leave what you don't. We have a Facebook community called Baby Brokers Doing Hat Tricks. Pretty exciting. We're up to almost 250 members there. And so if you're a Facebook person instead of a YouTube person, that's available for you as well. Best paid supplement to your study materials is a Kaplan Q Bank. If you don't have one, all Kaplan products and services, you can get 15% off with the Guru 15 discount code at checkout. And Brian has been kind enough to give our viewers a 20% discount for his products at Test Geek. And that discount code is Guru20. We do a drawing each week. The drawing, if you win the drawing, you need to respond within an hour by email. If I haven't responded yet, I just been cleaning up emails. I just got back on grid here in Las Vegas, so be patient and I will get to you. But just claim your prize. Your prize is either a scholarship for our unethical business practices evening class or balance sheets, your choice. You can share it if you want to. You can assign it to someone else. Do with it what you will. All right, let's see what we got going on in comments here. Hi from Miami, Florida, Kenya. Oh, I like that. That's a neat name, named after the country. Or taking the 910 sales. Well, I shouldn't say sales supervisor in the house. Would be sales supervisor in the house, right? So, Kenya, I don't know what order you're doing it. I would just tell you that the 9 is a much different dragon to be slayed than the 10. I think the 10 dragon is a more intimidating dragon. It's just a slog, that 10. So, maybe you want to take the 9 first, get that out of the way, or take the 10 and get that out of the way. People make different choices on that. Brian, your thoughts about the difference between the 9 and the 10?
Same as yours. The 10.
Okay. Okay.
9's not so bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Minnesota. Ali, I just love Minnesota. Such friendly people. I was going to Minnesota for a lot of, I spent a lot of time going back and forth to Minneapolis. Taking the 7th, third time. Ooh. Third time is serious for all exams because, the third time you miss, then you got that 6-month wait. Curious about our thoughts on STC greenlight exams. I think STC is a competent provider. I don't feel people are risk. I would say, Ali, the only thing I would say, not only STC, Kaplan, Pass Perfect, training consultants, when people get high scores on practice tests, so we're trying to get a mark, and they're getting high scores, and then they still miss the mark, which is always surprising. It's a statistical anomaly when that happens. But when it does happen, it's usually because people have memorized the Q banks, and they're just answering because they all C, B, D, A, A. And, you want to avoid that. I say that in regards to SBC because their Q bank isn't as deep as some others. And so it's easier to do that. And if the green lights, you're scoring that in the mid-70s, you know why you're getting things right. You understand the concepts. I think you should be in good shape. Brian, your thoughts on STC?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we say this all the time, Dean. It's not just about taking the exams, but it's also running an evaluation of that score to break the score down into the different components so you can identify the weak spots. That's what the practice finals are all about. It's not just how many can you do. It's what
Yes.
does it tell
Yes,
us?
it's hard, Brian. We're still fighting, Ali, some of the old school bad practices out there. And there are still some old school practitioners, I guess, who think that is the goal, that you just do a gazillion practice test questions without doing remediation. Remediation is key. And I don't know, Brian, why people don't listen to us. It just hurts my heart. I had somebody, I specifically told them as their tutor, don't do more than one a day and then do remediation. I know how it could be clearer than that. And then they call me because they did 4 in the day and the 4 score was awful. I go, well, what do you think? I mean, you're not at your mental best. And I said, then I specifically tell you no more than one day, because when you're doing a 4-day, you're not doing remediation. You know, you're like in a mouse in a maze and like you're trying to get some cheese at the end. That is not best practice. Best practice is one
It
practice
has to
test
be
a day.
8 hours of test taking. I don't know how anybody can do that.
It's so, follow best practice. Best practice. I usually, Ali, say to people, when's your test date? Let's say you say my test date's next Tuesday. And then I would say, Ali, okay, well, how many practice tests? How many marks are we going to do? And some people come up with a number that's like outrageous. They go, no. Let's dial that back. Sometimes people come up with maybe not enough, like 2, and I think you should do 3 or 4. But, I just want to get a commitment from somebody what they're going to do. And then the commitment, they're not going to do more than 1. And then Brian's point, the commitment that they understand the process isn't doing practice tests to learn, is to do an intellectual inventory to get a mark and then do remediation. So that's what I would say about all practice tests.
That's exactly right. I was just going to say that. This is the same process for every exam.
Yeah, exactly. Martha, we can't wait to get you out here and buy a steak dinner. August 13th, I'm gonna clear my schedule. And if Brian can't join us, it'll be you and I, and we'll go make good on that steak.
August 13th. I'll mark that.
August 13th. Love you guys with the SIE in 66, taking the Thursday, 7 Thursday. Love it. Got a 72 on Brian's test. I think that's very good. It is very hard. I sometimes say Brian is a bigger jerk than the real jerks who write the test. Right. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing because, you don't want to be pleasantly surprised. Right. I mean it, Brian, as a compliment.
I know. I've been called far worse, but believe me.
Marcel is, for you, those of you who may not be regulars to our Tuesday live streams, Marcel is being facetious here because I think I owe him like 5 hours of tutoring or some crazy thing. He won the drawing I think it was I think Marcel, it wasn't 3 times in a row. We now have the Marcel rule, which means you can't win the drawing more than once in sequence. So the Marcel rule. Always cool to get a rule named after you. I like the 9. I think that's the way to go, Kenya. I like the 9 and followed by 10. Get a good testing victory. The other comment I would make about the 9, Kenya, that it's always tough for me because I don't want to feed psychosis. But a lot of 9 people start getting in the weeds about advanced option strategies. Are they there? They are, but it's not the biggest part of the test. It's sales supervision. So, be careful. You don't go down some rabbit hole on ratio rights or iron butterflies or condors or some crazy thing. Took the 7 first 2 times with Kaplan, now switched to STC. Well, I think, I don't know, Brian, what you think. I don't believe, Ali, that you should be monogamous when it comes to your study effort. Particularly if you have the resources. You don't want to get too many voices in your mind. If you can, change a vendor, get a different voice, I think that's helpful, particularly after 2 times. I would also throw in the mix maybe a paid supplement, get another voice. Brian's voice, I think, was a good voice to have as well. So, yeah, mix it up. I think you're doing the right thing there to do it. I don't think I don't believe people just watch my channel and watching the other channel or just do Brian's paid supplement. Don't buy a Q Bank if you have the resources. I always say, Ali, not time to be frugal. If you have the resources when you're going through these tests, it is not a time to be frugal. It is a time to invest in yourself. And that means whatever hours you need, whatever study materials you need. Kaplan is terrible. We don't like to hear that. On the 7, Kaplan immediately purchased STC. Well, we're agnostic about vendors, but I am Kenya, a senior instructor emeritus at Kaplan. So, people love and hate different vendors. So you're certainly entitled to your. There you go. So let's make it, Marcel, maybe the 14th. We don't want to do it when you get here, maybe 14 or 15, it sounds like. So let us know. Hello, Tani. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Hello, hello, hello. Taking the SE on June 22nd using Kaplan. All right. I think that's fine. I have plenty of resources on the channel for the SIE. I have 3 playlists. I have a playlist with just lectures. I have a playlist of practice tests that not only include Kaplan, include Knopman, include Bryan's, include Momentric. So we have lots of practice tests. And then I have a podcast series on the SIE as well. Alpharetta, Georgia. Woohoo. I used to spend a lot of time. I don't know if you were with E-Trade. E-Trade used to have a big campus in Alpharetta. I spent a lot of time in Alpharetta. We sure can. We sure can. Brian has a beautiful thing that he put up. Today is the first day of the rest of our lives. So this is May 28th. Let me kill our banner here. And so everything now is T+1. So how does that affect the X date? The X date is now the same day as the record date. Remember, what is the X date? What is the X date? Be careful about questions about what and when. What is the X date is the first date on which a stock no longer trades with a dividend attached. When is the X date? It's now the same as the record date. Reg T settlement has been and always will be T+1 or T plus whatever plus 2. So Reg T, Federal Reserve Board says we have to give clients 2 additional days to come up with the monies or securities. The 2 additional days hasn't changed. So now it's just 3 because T+1 instead of T+2, right? Brian and I are OGs. We've been here since it was T+5. So I can't believe everybody's freaking out. It's not a big deal. That also will affect equity option exercise, because now you're going to have to deliver shares or money the following business day. Confirmations must be delivered by settlement. That hasn't changed. That's just now T+1. What we're trying to do is narrow the time frame for a potential fail. At some point we'll be at real-time settlement. Brian made a beautiful video, and I'll link to it in the video description on this. Master storyteller that it is. He has his whiteboard there. One other point, and I don't know why people don't listen to us, Brian. So the other point I would make is that when they make these changes, they remove the affected questions. So I doubt you will see anytime soon any question that reflects this change. When they reintroduce it, it's unscored. I had that confirmed. I had a guy, Brian, how do you know that? I said, well, decades of doing this when this has happened and helping thousands of people. And I know FINRA's policies and procedures. I did check with FINRA this last week and confirmed that they are not scoring these questions anytime soon when they do reappear. So that's how that's going to play out. Brian, I see you got your whiteboard. Do you want to comment on that?
All I need to say really is I just posted a YouTube, last week, I believe, on the new settlement, how it affects dividends, the X dates, the record dates. And I think, Dean, you made an important point. You got to know the definitions of those terms. I think that helps. Knowing that the X dividend date means without, that's what the prefix X means, without dividend, is the same as the record date, right?
Yeah.
There's a couple other changes that might occur on Series 7 when it comes to accrued interest, those sorts of things. But again, these changes will not affect the tests for some time. And I make quite a strong point about that as well. Same thing you just said, Dean. X date, same as record date. Test isn't going to show up with these questions in, 3 months.
I always think X date. I always think, Brian, you probably use this as well. I always think of X as without your ex-spouse. Right? Ex-spouse means you're no longer trading with your spouse attached. If I say, hey, when was the last day you were married? That's the day before the divorce. When was the first date you're single? That's the day the divorce is effective, right? So, like I say, people I think are getting way too worked up about this. I have stayed out of getting too much in the fray of this because I don't like feeding the psychosis of people worried about these changes. I've had confirmation that last week nobody received any questions, as well as people who are testing this week. I continue to get verification of what I have said every time this has happened. T+5, then we went to T+3. It changed 3-4 times over the years, and this is always how it plays out. All right.
Let me just say one more thing. How do we know, Dean? Not only because we're OGs, old guys been around, but these rule changes, major rule changes occur every single year on almost every exam. Every exam has gone through changes, and it's the same thing. They can't change the risk level of the exams the next day. Everybody has to have the same risk level when they take the exam. It's the only way you can fairly, objectively evaluate people. And again, I always make the point, is it New York time or is it Honolulu time? None of that stuff applies. It does not change. They take the old questions out. You won't see any new questions for 3 to 6 months. Thank you very much.
All right, back to boom. So I hope that was helpful. Like I say, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, there we go. I'll tell you what, Lillian, I hope I'm getting that right. We got some really interesting names. I like that, Lillian. I hope I'm getting that right. If I'm not, I apologize in advance. I also have 3 or 4 practice questions I've actually written, so I'll probably be sharing in video format here. Again, I'm waiting till the dust clears a little bit because, again, I don't want to be a party to feeding that. So maybe next week I'll post that video with some sample questions on this. And I don't want to front run too much because I think then people might invest in it too much intellectually. And then, why? Because as Brian said, nobody's going to see it for a while.
It's not going to be on the test.
Yeah. Brian was a game changer. I get that a lot about people saying the test geek is a game changer. Kenya, on your 10, you won't get as tested as much on the 24, but this is a serious story. Brian has a video, the free, on his YouTube channel about fails to deliver and fails to receives and sellouts and buy-ins. It's so good, I don't even make one. I just refer people to taking the 24 to it. And I've had people not use the term Kenya game changer, but life changing. I thought, wow, who would have thought a buy and sell out video could change lives? Changing lives one test taker at a time.
That's what we do, Dean. That's what we do. We change lives.
Will you please explain to me the market expectation for the dividend prior to the announcement can affect the share price? Well, it's Yasha, it shouldn't in theory, but human beings are mammals, right? And here's the theory behind that: the board would not explain or increase a dividend, right? For example, Alphabet declared their first ever dividend. So there's a couple things you could, I guess, from that. That means they have plenty of cash. They're broadcasting the market. We have more cash than we need to build the business. We're going to distribute excess of profits or cash to our shareholders. And nobody thinks they would declare a dividend that they couldn't pay. So it's signaling to the marketplace things are going well. And so that could affect the share price. Now, in Alphabet's case, it's not enough to have somebody value with a company based on the dividend discount model. They're certainly not going to put a valuation on a tech company. Meta had to announce their first dividend. And it can also be negative expectations because sometimes tech stocks that declare dividends go down because that's an admission that they don't have the opportunity to redeploy that cash, that retained earnings, back into the business. So it's more about human behavior than it is markets that make the stock react to a dividend. Would you like that? Not testable, by the way, Yasha. There's zero test question. The only test question is to know the stock should go down by the amount of the dividend on the X date. That's testable. But this whole point about market expectation is not testable. Brian, you want to add anything to that?
I'm glad you said that because I was about to jump all over that. This isn't on any test.
E-Trade. I'm trying to remember the place I used to go to have beers. Georgia used to have some weird thing where you couldn't buy beer that had, I think it was more like 3% alcohol or some crazy thing. They have all kinds of weird Sunday things. And I actually went to this place. It's like a Mexican place, Lillian. I spent a lot of time, and I shipped them some good beer from California. And then, I stayed at Hilton. I had like, oh my God, probably 500,000 Hilton points because I used to stay at the Hilton that was right there in Alpharetta. So it brings back fond memories. Averaging 63, 74 on the Q Bank, and have got passing scores in every simulated exam. I've taken besides a couple different tries, a couple in the 80, mid 70s. Yeah, I think so, right? Those are the scores. Brian and I are on the low side of our expectations compared to most, but I think that's pretty good. You should make your mark.
Ready to go.
Yeah. Well, Ken's Facebook group is different than ours. His is, I think, FINRA exams with the help of Capital Advantage tutoring, Ryan. So you could have asked it in ours. Ours is baby brokers doing hat tricks. So feel free to go over and join our Facebook group as well. Again, I don't believe people should be monogamous about their study groups or their Facebook groups or their Reddits, whatever the case may be. Well, the nervousness, Ryan, is more of an issue than knowing the material. I want you, Ryan, to be confident in the execution of your study plan. Be confident in yourself. Most importantly, tomorrow, you got to be confident in your answer, particularly on NASA exams. Amato, welcome. All right, well, let's get it done this time. You're one of my favorites. So next Tuesday, let's make that mark. Let's get it done. Thoughts on the change effective today? I think Chris, did you just join us, or maybe I'm a little behind on the thread? Yeah, just rewind this thing about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, Chris, and you will find Brian and I do a whole, I don't know what I would call a whole. What do you think? More than enough.
And my YouTube channel has a new.
Yeah, Chris, I have a link in the video description to Brian's YouTube video. You made a great little video. 12 minutes, 13 minutes on this whole thing. So excellent. I'll link to that, Chris. Two things: either rewind this or check after this when I post Brian's video and the video description, the link to that, or both. I don't think you see any of that, Chris, on 66 anyways. 66 isn't about settlements. That's more about FINRA exams. Dujun, yeah, wish you luck. May need a free tutor session. Well, like Rebecca, we don't have free tutor sessions. I don't have what maybe Brian does. You can win the coaching call, and the coaching call is a class, and then I do a free office hour for people. The way you get free tutoring, I'll just tell you how to do that. Next Tuesday, Rebecca, join us. Next Tuesday after this, there's a free live stream overtime session. That is a group tutoring session that takes place sometimes after these live streams. There will be one next Tuesday. You go to deantenneytutoring.setmar.com. There's a link on the YouTube channel right at the top. You hit that, you can join us for that. That's the way to get free tutoring. That's open for everybody. The other way to get free tutoring office hour is if you purchase a class tutoring or anything like that with me, you have spent some money, invested some money. That office hour is available. Same thing, it's a free group tutoring. This just did that yesterday. We had 2 people. We spent an hour, so there you go. Hello, it's not Dan Estuardo, it's Dean. Not Dan, I'm Dean. That is Brian. Any tips? I got the Series 6 coming at the end of this week. Any recommendations using Past Perfect? I think you're great. Make sure you got down retail communications, customer accounts, variable annuities, mutual funds. I think there's a lot of overlap from the SIE to the Series 6. Brian, I think if you were strong, Estuardo, on your SIE, we think you could almost pass out of that 6. So, Brian, you want to add anything to that?
No, you got it. Good scores. He's looking good.
Your scores reflect you should make your mark. So, be surprised if you didn't. Dylan Love, struggling with understanding X dates, how they pertain. When a company declares a dividend, Dylan, you have to be on the shareholder on the record date. So if I say we're going to look at our shareholder list on Thursday, September 16th, because remember, our shareholder list is always changing. So we say we're going to look at our shareholder list on Thursday, September 16th. If you're a shareholder as of record on Thursday, September 16th, you're going to get the dividend, right? So the whole point here is you have to be on the shareholder list on the record date. So if I say, for example, When's the last date you can buy the stock or the first date? They like to put you on the cusp of the line. So my example, if I buy it on Wednesday, the 15th, T+1, I am on the shareholder list. I do get the dividend. Right. So the day before the record date would be the last date I could buy the stock and still receive the dividend. If I buy the stock on the record date, Thursday, September 16th, T+1, I'm not going to be on the list and I wouldn't get the dividend. So the X date is the first date on which the stock no longer trades with dividend attached. That answers your question. X date means you don't get the dividend. The stock is no longer trading with the dividend attached. That's what that means. So if you buy it the day before the X or sooner, you get the dividend. X date, first date, there are others every day past that, you do not get the dividend. So again, I don't think it's worth your time and energy because as we spent now, I told you the whole world is in a Twitter about this, and it does not matter for test taking purposes because again, they're not going to ask you about these changes. Is they always one day before? It's not, Dylan, because we just changed May 28th. The X date is now the same as the record date. Please rewind this video or after this, watch Brian's video. We've spent a lot of time on this. They don't set the X date, Dylan, because the X date test question is a function of the Uniform Practice Code. The Uniform Practice Code, Dylan, test question standardizes trading practices in the securities industry. So nothing has changed about the declared record or payable date. Those have been and still are set by the board of directors. The board of directors says, hey, should we declare a dividend? That becomes a current liability of the corporation, causing working capital to decrease. Who are we going to pay it to? Shareholders as of record. In my example, Thursday, September 16th. When are we going to pay it? October 1st. We don't care about the payable date and we don't care about any of that. So why don't they do it? Because they don't. The board has nothing to do with people buying and selling their stock. The board simply says, well, this is a communication to shareholders as of this date. That's called the record date. So that hasn't changed. I'm just getting really exasperated.
That's okay.
So, Diana.
I think Diana now knows after listening to 5.
I hope, Diana. I don't know when you joined us.
Watch
I'll
my
say it one more time. We could be running late in the chat, Brian, so I get it. If, Diana, you weren't here for the 3 times I've now had this conversation, rewind this video. And at the very beginning, this question was asked and answered again, asked and answered again. After this video, I will link to Ryan's beautiful video he's made on these changes, as well as a video I've made that just is, going over the changes, not actual. I have some practice questions I'll be reducing. Again, nobody is going to see this for a while. And when they do show back up, they will not be scored. So, yeah. No, the T+ rules do not apply, Diana. They're gone. The T+2 rules do not apply. Today is May 28th. That's old news. It's T+1 and should be answered accordingly. Second attempt. Okay, well, let's get it done. Let's get it done.
Dean, I've got a question for you before we move on from that last question.
Yeah, from Diana.
It happens to be, and excuse me.
Yes. I got to say, Diana, I do like your profile picture, though. That is, I would open an account with somebody. She looks professional. She's ready to handle some money. Go ahead, Brian.
I've heard little birdies fly by my window and said, I just took the Series 66 and I saw something about a TOD account. I go, great, been on the test for years. However, they're asking, what is the disadvantage of a TOD?
Well, I would think it would be something about
disadvantage of a TOD.
I would think less flexibility than trust would be my guess at it. Don't you think? That's what I would go for. Something like, yeah.
I believe since a TOD has a named beneficiary, right? That could be some unknown person and the family gets upset, right?
Yeah, well, it is what it is.
Or someone who may have been a little bit more deserving.
Yeah, well, people.
I'm not gonna answer. How
In
is
the
it
real
just
world, I would be looking for the lack of flexibility once that's set in motion because you're no longer there. I would say less flexibility than a trust would be what I would be looking for. But however, I would just comment outside even the test taking world. Boy, if you want to know what people are about when somebody dies, oh, people can be ugly, ugly. I know you're going to find your point. No worries. Oh, well, thanks, Ryan. Thanks for joining the Hat Trick group. Thank you. We appreciate it. It's different. We have Reddit communities as well. And Ryan, the Facebook communities, I think, are better at if you really want to, make friends and see real people and know what they're about. Maybe Facebook is the better venue. But what I like about our Reddit communities, you can remain anonymous. And sometimes it's helpful. Like we had somebody taking a 9 or 10. I can't tell you how many in our Reddit communities for the 24, 9, and 10 will put something in there, and I'm thinking, oh God, I'm so glad they're anonymous. We don't know who they are, but who their firm is. All right, we get to ring the bell. First bell.
there we go.
Black Mamba. Of course you passed. Black Mamba. You gotta, I always when I hear Black Mamba, I think Kobe. Kobe is he was the original Black Mamba, right? Or I think Kill Bill is where it really started with. The Facebook group is Baby Brokers Doing Hat Tricks. Baby Brokers Doing Hat Tricks. So, Baby Brokers is a term of endearment for rookies in the securities industry. A hat trick is 3 successes in a limited time frame. So that would be taking your SIE, your 7, your 66, or your SIE 663, or your SIE 763. So that's the premise of the group, right? So it's called Baby Brokers Doing Hat Tricks. I tutored you from Atlanta. Okay, well, there you go. So I didn't recognize the Black Mamba handle. I'm glad to know you passed because of my tutoring. If we can contribute to taste-taking victories, Brian, they're all about that. We're all about that. All right, cool. Love it. Kudos, investment advisor representative.
In the house.
By the way, if you left me I think now I know who you are. I think I got your text and your email. I just didn't have time to respond. I just got back on the grid from my off-grid location. So if you're expecting a return email from me or communication, be expecting it after the live stream. Taking one exam a day. All right, best practice. Here's again. I'll see what Brian thinks about this, Jason. I don't like reading each question and explanation one at a time. Here's why. I think it chews up a lot of valuable time reviewing stuff you already know. I understand I may not be the majority in here. Jason, you and I are both doing a practice exam, and you are reviewing every question regardless of whether you got it right or wrong. I am doing 125 set, and then I'm reviewing, and I'm reviewing the ones I got wrong and not the ones I got right, counterintuitive, because I'm trying to find things I don't know. I will be able to chew through a lot more practice questions in the same time frame as you are. So maybe in the beginning, this is again buffet, take what you like, leave what you don't. Maybe in the beginning you do a question and explanation at one at a time, but I believe in laying the base first. And then when you're doing practice tests, maybe not quizzes, but practice tests, I don't believe in doing that. I believe in sitting down, setting my clock for 2 hours, working my way through an entire practice exam, not going through all the questions, just the ones either I want to go through with my question mark I make to myself or ones I got wrong. Those are where you would, and that will free you up, not to do more than one practice exam a day, but to do more remediation on the issues you need to. And so that would be my recommendation. Your thoughts, Brian, on doing the question and doing the reveal?
I tell people you have to simulate the test-taking environment, squirrel yourself away, lock the kids and the dogs and the cats in the closet, and pretend it's the real thing.
There you go.
A fairly accurate time frame for how long it takes.
And you're not going to be able to do that on the real test. Do a question and see if you got it right. Yeah, I like it.
Simulate the real exam.
I like it. Did I miss anything else? Overwhelmed on how to study on the second go round. I think those scores are good. Let's just, I'll link Jason. I have a video. It's called Failed. Is it over? The spoiler alert, it's not. And I have 5 recommendations about how to respond to the misfortune of missing that mark and what you should be doing differently. I will link that in the video description. So there'll be a link to Brian's X date change video. There'll be a link to that failed is it over video that gives you some recommendations about how to proceed. What is it with the Dan and Brian thing? My name is not Dan. It is Dean. It is Dean. Is this a joke that I'm unaware of?
You're getting a little testy there, Dan.
I am. I mean, I think it's disrespectful to not know the person's name. Anyways, I'm teasing you, Peter. Or how would I misdo that? Call him up. What I'm going to do is when people call me Dan, I'm going to call them something else. I'm on my 3rd attempt. Oh boy. 3rd attempt is big, right? Because that's that 6-month thing. 10 simulated exams. I'm worried about 10 of them. 10 seems like too much, and depending on the time frame, Peter. What would you recommend I do in low scoring positions? Do you think I'm ready? Well, I don't like that 65 there, and I don't like that there's 10 of them, and I don't like we have 2 misses behind us. So I'm not feeling pretty good about this. I'd like more information. I'd like to know your test date. I'd like to know what your, who your test prep vendor is. I like the idea you're asking how you should do remediation. Brian, you want to try and address that part?
I will. There's several things we can do. Again, when you get a score on a simulated exam, now 10 is an awfully lot of simulated exams, because I was just about to ask you, great, you get 10 simulated exams. Now, tell me 3 of your weakest areas, right? In other words, are you doing the remediation for all 10 of those exams? But it seems like you are. So what do you do to remediate? There's several things you can do. Should I put it up here?
Yeah.
There's the textbook. If you want to just kind of skim some of those units and find some of that, I don't know. Custom quizzes. Now, if you do that, I would recommend no more than 10 or 12 questions. You don't want to do 4,700 questions from Unit 3, and then you're going to just get in the woods. You got Dean's videos on those particular topics. You have Brian's videos, my video course, and or my class notes to help kind of focus on what the key concepts are in those particular areas. So there you go. There's 4 different things you can do. Pick and choose, use them all, use a few, whichever ones you like. There you go. As
we say, it's a buffet. Take what you like, leave what you don't.
But it's a great question. It's a great question. This is how you.
Yeah, maybe Estrado's taking responsibility for sending everybody down the Dan road. Hi, Dean and Brian. I take my SAE on June 7th. My Q banks are 80-85. Woo! Recommendations are tripping me up. Can you explain them? Yes, I can. So, Antonio, there are 3 styles of questions on your exam: recognition, practical application, and judgment. And the difficulty with suitability questions is a lot of times they are judgment questions. And I believe the way that you can attack that is by being really solid on the investment vehicles. If you're really solid on the investment vehicles, you can use it for 2 things. You can use it for process of elimination on the investment suitability question. Like, for example, if they say, the client needs liquidity. Oh, you immediately can go, okay, well, maybe it's about money market. Let me read a little further. Or if it says, you should definitely know no partnership for liquidity. Tax bracket. It might be a muni bond they're going to ask me about. So if you're really solid on those investment products and the features and benefits of them, how does that investment vehicle take you on that financial journey from point A to point B without crashing and burning? We also should know how do investment vehicles crash and burn. Right? What I mean by that is if it's a long-term bond and interest rates go up, it's going down, that kind of thing. So I believe in laying that foundation on investment products, right? And then that will do it. I have a great video, Understanding Risks, Antonio, on the SIE. in the playlist. I will link to that. And that has almost, I think, over 100,000 views, and people have found it very helpful, right? Literally go through each of those. Now, SIE will not be as judgment oriented as a Series 7. I still think you should, lay the groundwork for your 7. But the vast majority of the SIE is recognition, couple practical application, maybe a judgment question or two. So it won't be as big a deal. Brian, I'm turning the board over to you. So Brian's there you go. Look at that.
Yeah, you know how we are, Dean. We don't like to do a 47-minute lecture. Yeah. It's a great question and it applies to almost every exam. Dean's right. If I can recall, there's several objective questions on the SIE, but not a whole lot. Series 6, you'll get a few. Series 7, we know there's a lot of them. 65, 66, a few. Okay? But again, as Dean said, and this is key, right? Once we've established what the objective is in the test question, of course, now that could be, right? And they start throwing you guys age and how many kids and how many dogs and cats he has and all of those sorts of things to distract you. But the key is the objective. And then knowing your products. Which product would best suit that objective? So it really comes down to knowing your products, just like Dean said. Yeah. Really simple to it. Yep.
I like one, Brian. One of the practice questions. I just did one of your practice tests on a shared screen final with somebody the other day. And Brian has a question I love. It's a suitability question. And he tries to bait you into the time horizon being when they're retiring. And so you can very easily miss the question because I think it goes something, he's 55, she's 57. They want to retire at age 65. What is their time horizon? And Brian has available to you, the age of 65 rather than retirement, which is going to last the rest of their lives, right? So you got to make sure too you're understanding risk tolerance, time horizon, things around that. I don't think that, again, I'm with Brian. I don't think, Antonio, on your SIE, but I want you to overlearn that because if your next leg of your testing journey is a 7 or one of your legs is a 65, 66, this becomes a bigger deal than it is on the SIE. I'll put it this way, Antonio. If you told me you missed the SIE because of suitability questions, I'm going to say, you had a bigger problem elsewhere. Now,
by the way, your scores were very good.
yeah. So that's true too. We also like that 80, 85. So
yeah.
7-second time. All right, Allison, let's get it done. Let's slay this dragon this time.
What?
Lady Brill, 63 next week, mid 70s, 80s. I don't like the zero confidence thing. That's okay to share it with us, but I want you, Lady Brill, to get up in the morning and I want you to say, mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the greatest 63 test taker of all? Lady Brill, right? You got to kind of get some confidence. So there's no reason not to have confidence with 70s and 80s on practice tests. So I wish I had a magic pill I could give people to give them confidence in themselves, the execution of their study plan, and most importantly, confidence in the answers. As Brian says, stick with what you know. But, it's the reason it frustrates me so much is because confidence, I think, is 10 points. What do you think confidence is? I think we can't measure it, but I think it could be the difference. It could be the difference. Anyways, even if you don't have confidence, fake it till you make it, right? Go down. If you're going to go down in flames. I have a person I was tutoring. They had all the right answers, but they all had this lisp in their voice, like 10. I go, well, that's just 10. That's my answer. I'm sticking with it, even if it's wrong. Greetings. I'd like to thank you for your help and pass my third temping SIE. Now I'm going for 63. All right. I love that test. You passed your test, 2 tests. You passed the SIE, but you also passed a test of resiliency. And passing that test of resiliency is going to be a really good indicator of how you're going to do in the future in our business. So kudos on both passing your SIE on that third attempt and, also passing that test of resiliency. What are the good 63 videos? I have one I'll link to called The Mighty 90. Brian did one I'll link to for you called Definition of Registrations and Persons that people find very, very helpful. Do you have anything for free on your YouTube channel?
Just the definition of persons, I have video courses for sale on everyone.
Yeah, he has paid
That's
someone.
the right person who has video courses.
Yeah, Brian is very good on distillation on NASA testing concepts. So, if you have the resource, you want to buy his NASA all in paid supplement for 63, do so. But I'll link to a couple helpful videos, Mighty 90, definition of registrations and persons that are on there as well. We have a couple practice exams as well. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll probably just link to the entire 63 playlist for you, and then you can pick those out of that. 63 again. All right, Isaac. 1 point. Damn. Yeah, I get it. Being nervous. You don't want to be, fear is helpful as long as it's not debilitating, right? So, somewhere between that is a happy line. I think you should focus on, you should focus on disclosures and unethical business practices, Michael. Disclosure and unethical business practices. Entry level for a major bank and getting ready to take the SIE to take on my own to take my career to the next level. Love it, Charlie. Love it. We have lots of people in the banking industry who came through the security side. Jamie Dimon was a former sales assistant to a guy named Sandy Weil. So he started out as an assistant to a guy, and look at him now, right? He's running JP Morgan. His dad, by the way, was a stockbroker. Reading the SIE license exam, watch the playlist on topics. There you go. Don't feel intuitive. Our industry, I don't know how many people our industry, the securities industry, is intuitive to. I mean, maybe you're a prodigy. I didn't find it intuitive when I started. Did you find the securities industry to be intuitive?
The industry or what? I
think once you this is one of the highest levels of testings that we do, testing somebody on a whole body of information, right? SIE 766. When you think about it, that's a lot of stuff. And that's kind of the highest level of learning, is learning a whole new body of information. I don't think that anytime you're learning a whole new body of information, in the beginning, it will feel intuitive. But as you get more practiced at it, maybe that we'll hope that the 66 becomes a little more intuitive along the way as you accumulate more base knowledge, as you become a better test taker. So, I wouldn't be too worried about it not being intuitive. But, when things are not intuitive, you just got to work harder, I guess, is what I say. When I was in college and struggling with courses that didn't speak to me at all, I just had to work harder. You're welcome. Do you think this is sufficient to prepare me for the exam? As long as I through it, or you need to buy additional material to study? Well, I don't know what you have already in inventory, Charlie. I think you said, let me go back. Getting ready on my own. Okay, I got that. You got the Kaplan manual. Okay, you got the essay playlist. I would want you to have a Q bank, but I have a playlist that has a bunch of practice tests. I think you should. I understand being on a tight budget, but if you have that. I'd like you to have a Q bank. So, maybe buy the Kaplan Q bank. That hurts, Matt. That hurts. So now you got the big third time. Remember, the third time is really key, because if you miss it the third time, then you get that 6 month wait. And that's just a killer, right? Just a killer. Prepping SIE, my scores are high to mid 60s. So I keep taking practice at this point. Any suggestion to boost my scores? Well, I'd like to know, when is your test date? We did go over what we can do in terms of remediation. So Brian just had on the board. So just rewind to that, or I'll tell you what, maybe I'll splice it out and make a little separate video on remediation for you. If you're not getting past mid to high 60s, I don't think you should just keep taking practice tests, because as we said, we want you to do remediation. So it might be that you don't have enough base knowledge laid yet. And so I would say you maybe take a day or two. Again, we don't have enough information here. When's your test date? How many practice scores are we talking about? I'd like more information. But with what we have here, I would say I would want you to spend more time on remediation. That includes laying more base. What I mean by that is not just keep doing practice questions. I think if you maybe take a break from your practice test, do some more base, then you come back, you'll get a higher score. What you want to add to that, Brian? By the way, rewind. Brian has this whole discussion, but you want to add to this right now?
Use the performance tracker, find the weak areas.
Yeah. Second time. Oh, that's good, Matt. Good. Because second time is a bit much not as big a deal as a third time. Right? Third time miss is really bad. Not scheduled yet. Well, I would get scheduled. You need a schedule. Your brain does better. Best practice is to have a date so your brain can start focusing on that. Give yourself a fudge factor if you want. But I believe the best practice is when you decide you're going to take a SIE test to get a date and then reverse engineer your study effort back from that. Right. So there's nothing really to add to your scores right now based on not having a date. So, you need a date. That's what I tell you. Next time we see you, say, hey, Dean and Brian, I got my date. On the internal rate of return, past perfect confused me a lot. The explanation was good. Yeah, I love it. If anybody goes overkill on math, it's definitely past perfect. Past perfect. We'll take you into the weeds for sure. All right. Looks like I'm all caught up. And I have, don't tell me what's going on because I got a basketball game queued up. And, we're going to want to know what's going on. Brian, do you have a word for the drawing?
Simple.
Hot. Oh, because we're in Vegas.
100% we're in Vegas today. Yeah.
Okay.
Texas
so
has been hot. It's been hot. Everybody's been hot.
Yeah. Let me go get our thing. If you want it, the drawing is for a scholarship to our unethical business practice evening course or balance sheet calculations, either course, your choice. And you can send that to me. You also are entitled to attend the free office hours. And you can register for that at dean10etutoring.setmore.com. And you can also participate in those as well. That's as close to free tutoring as available. Let me get my screen up. Boom, boom, boom. And let's make that full screen.
There you go.
Let's move that over here. Well, that's good enough good enough for us tonight. Okay, yeah. So put hot in there if you want to participate. And let's see if I can make that bigger. There we go. Yeah, get rid of that. And the email, let me do that, is Dean at Guru Exam Prep. Boom. If you win, send me an email at Dean at Guru. Whoop, that's wrong. Hold on, let me fix that. I had 2 U's there. There we go. I think that's. Let's see. Add banner. Where is my banner?
Did we lose you, Dan?
Yeah, there we go. There's the email. There's the email. Let's get it off. Let's get it off scroll. There we go. Okay, there we go. All right, here we go. Drawing. Oof. Oh, Marcel. Marcel. Oh, man. You know the drill, Marcel. I think I'm going to have to put him up in the hotel, too. And besides buying him a steak dinner, I'm going to have to. That's crazy. You know the drill, Marcel. Hey, Marcel, I think you're taking 65, right? If you want, I'll let you exchange that for the coaching calls I owe you and this win for tutoring on the 65. We'll just figure it out. And you have the contact information already, all that stuff. So it is not fixed. He hasn't won in a long time, guys. So I think if you'd been here when he was winning 3 or 4 times, you think I can control it.
Yeah, that was good.
And I can't. All right. So remember, inch by inch, your exam is a cinch. Yard by yard, your exam is hard. And you say, Brian?
You got to learn to keep it simple. Stay with what you know. You take the test. Don't let the test take you.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next Tuesday, 5 p.m. Las Vegas time.